imitation. In this Anuyog, Jain literature forms the primary stage of moral values and moral values and moral basis of Jain religion using stories, which is a very simple example. If A hurts B, then in future B will hurt A. Hence, do not hurt anybody. Okay. Now, it seems like a very simple logic. If A hurts B, in future B will hurt A. Okay. To be happy in the life of one should not hurt anybody. This is the moral base. If it may be other person, other animals, environment, no, you are hurting the environment by destroying or other objects. Since the majority of time I am in a stressful state, I am in unhappy state, I blame other for my unhappiness. Also, I seek happiness from the different people and different objects. If you notice here, there is no karma concept is introduced. It's just A and B, nothing else. A hurts B, B will hurt A. And you can see several stories even in Mahavir Katha, Mahavir's life. Okay, in the Vasudev Bhav, he put the liquid lead in the ear of the caretaker. And that guy come during Mahavir's life and put the nail in a ear. Right? Everybody knows this story. Okay? That is kind of the story which all the Katha has, where there are no karma into it. We interpret it later on, it's karma and all that things. But the story itself has nothing in it. Okay? Now, Prathamanuyog, primary purpose of any religious story is to explain the message of moral living. That's the key purpose. Hence, new stories are created or existing stories are modified by the author to fit the message of moral living based on the time, place, and culture. Good deeds are being rewarded and bad deeds are being punished in future by the same person, animal, same soul in our environment. It uses both historical and imaginary character in the story, but the entire story is not historical. It consists mainly mythology and some aspects of history. So don't even think these stories are historical stories. No, that is nothing like that. Jainism has not preserved the history of the religion. Jainism has only preserved the spirituality of the religion. Not only Jainism, all Eastern religion, whether it is a Buddhism or Hinduism, they all have preserved the spirituality of the religion, but not the history. The history, whatever people memorize it, that got documented later on after hundreds of years passed by. Okay, whatever is in the memory, okay, that's documented. And that is the reason, just only in Jainism, for Mahavir's life, there is significant differences from one sect to another sect to the third sect. Okay, one sect says Mahavir was married and has a daughter. Another sect says, no, Mahavir never married. If we preserve the history, that would not have happened, at least for the marriage and all other stuff. Okay, well, the two things, that kind of the contradiction, it still occurs. It's in the life, but in Jain philosophy and religion, you don't see the differences, whether it's a Digambar or if it's a Swetambar. What you see, the differences are stories, okay, which has nothing to do with, you know, six dravyas, nav tattvas, and philosophy of karma. They are all same in all any sect. If you really look into it, that is actually good advantage for us to practice one religion in this country, in America. And ultimately that will happen not in my lifetime, but at least as time passes, that the new generation is taking over, that will make it Jain. We are Jain, we are not Digambar, and they will change, modify the stories. Okay, that is because it is a story. Okay, they are not modifying any principle. Principle are going to remain the same. Nobody has modified the Jain principles. Okay, so that's the keep in mind, and it's a slow process, and these things that would happen in future. There is no doubt about it. It is that history of every religion is that. All right. Prathamanuyog, okay, this Anuyog contains the biographies of Tirthankar, other well-known personalities, which is Salaka Purus, 63 Salaka Purus, means 24 Tirthankars, 12 Chakravartis, 9 Vasudevs, 9 Prati Vasudevs, and 9 Baldev. These are the 63 Salaka Purus, important people. Okay, important in that sense. No, there is a book Acharya Hemchandracharya wrote in the 63 Salaka Purush, okay, and compiled from various places the information and put it together into this book. And others may have written it, but I don't remember many things in that sense. The moral stories which are developed to explain certain Jain principles. Through stories, Jain literature forms the basis of moral values for the lay people. No karma philosophy is introduced or discussed here. Each Jain story explains some aspects of Jain morality. However, one should not derive any Jain principles out of the story. Okay? And what is the example of Jain principles derived? Well, Mahavir's story says, 1 minute. Well, Mahavir's story says that first Parana, he got milk pudding. That's where he did the first Parana on 2 fasts. The first Tapascharya was the Chat. And when he went there, this is what he got. Is not only Mahavir, but 23 Tirthankars got first Parana Kheer. And people say, like, oh, if 23 out of 24 Tirthankar can have a milk pudding, why not we? There is nothing wrong in the milk. And they derived like principle, for Jainism, taking the milk is not a problem. Okay, for their advantage. And these are the great acharyas who have done it. I'm not talking about no ordinary person, the knowledgeable people. And I said, do you really know Prathamanuyog, the basic principle? You cannot derive any principle. Did Mahavira preached that there is nothing wrong in the milk? And come out to be, they could not find even single agam that Mahavira said. On the contrary, what they find it, Mahavir said in 6 Bahya Taps, the fourth Bahya Tap is a Rasatyag. And it clearly says on the Rasatyag, don't, that's the he's preaching. Rasatyag or 6 Bahya Taps and 6 Antrik Tap. Okay, that is the Tap, that is the Nirjara. And in that one, the fourth Bahya Tap says Rasatyag, and it clearly defines Doodh, Dahi, ghee, makhan, chas, any ras, any food which has a ras, which is nothing but like creates alas, okay, unawareness. That's the alas. Alas is just, you're not aware, you're sleepy. Bhagwan Mahavir objected that kind of the food one should not take if somebody wants to progress spiritually. Okay, so it's a negative things there. And yet, even today, after so many years, knowing the knowledge of God, not a single Jain acharya level. Other sadhus, bits and pieces, they say the things, but acharya level and higher came out and say that milk is not used, should not be used by Jains. Because Bhagwan Mahavir said even on the fourth external tap, instead of they said, well, he drank the food. Not only Bhagwan Mahavir did, Gautam Buddha did it. The same thing. The first parana on Gautam Buddha was kheer, same milk pudding. So what I'm trying to say, people are, they are very tricky. They find something and say, hey, I think they wanted to eat. But they are the acharya levels. Okay. He cannot say, okay, Mahavir said no, and I wanted to eat, that's why I'm taking it. And they somehow bring it out, all these things. Anyway, so that's one you have to keep in mind. Is it something in story said, or it is in the preaching of Bhagwan Mahavir? If you find something in the preaching, fine, well and good. Okay, you can use it because it says in the preaching. But you got to understand, does it make logic also? Current logic of the current time. And that is the point I am trying to give you here. Let's go further. This is the two stories I'm giving you the example. A person took a vow not to eat or drink at night. However, under certain circumstances, sickness, he could not keep the vow and drank a glass of water at night. And the story concludes, after death, he went to hell because he broke the vow. All right, this is one story. There is another story. These are all from Agam literature. So, I can show you the references and everything, but just listen this one. In another story, a non-vegetarian person took a vow not to eat meat of a bird. He loved the bird's meat, and he may have been with one of the acharyas. And since he loved the bird meat, Acharya thought at least I should give him a vow not to eat a bird meat. He committed to eat all other types of the meat daily. He continued to eat all other types of meat daily, but never broke his vow of eating the bird's meat. After his death, he went to heaven because he did not break his vow, and not eating the meat of the birds. So you can see the both stories on a first approximation from overall Jain principle point of view, Jain principle and conduct point of view, one can conclude that these stories are wrong stories. First person lived a self-controlled life but broke the vow once and went to hell, while the second person ate meat except bird's meat all his life and yet went to heaven. However, the message from the above two stories is, if you take a vow, do not break the vow. That is the message. If you take a vow, that doesn't mean the whole story. When you look at overall situation and saying that, so what Jainism is saying, if you take the vow, be serious and don't break it. Okay, that doesn't mean you are going to hell. You have lived controlled life, very good life, and some unusual circumstances you may have to break the vow. Use your own wisdom there. Okay? But be serious about taking the vow. That is the message. It is not the message that the person went to hell and other person went to heaven. And that's why, okay, I should eat all meat except the bird's meat, because this is the way you get the heaven. That is not the things you have to commit out of it. So be careful when you use Prathamanuyog or Kathanuyog story. Find out what is the underlying message. Okay, and that message is important. Here the vow is important, not other things. They are all wrong. But this is how the story has been said. All the places. Just authors wanted to convey the message about the vows, be serious about it, and don't break. So through this kind of the stories, he thought he can do. At that time, at that environment, it is true. But today, this kind of the story, it is not appropriate in our culture. Okay, we need to change it. That's my point to you. Okay, and that's the one. No, if you change something, the hell breaks loose. Oh, you cannot change anything in the Agam. All right, that's the one. People don't have the wisdom. They don't understand this one. Okay, okay. The whole story is not even proper from when you look at it, the overall Jain philosophy and Achar point of view. All right. So I'm continuing, but I don't know whether I'll be able to finish everything or not. Or we can do it tomorrow, and the other topic, what we have it, we can take it in a weekly. Something like that, whichever one you people decide that time. Okay. Prathamanuyog or Kathanuyog literature. What are the literature? Jain literature, among Jain literature. The Svetambar literature is like Gnata Dharma Kathang, Anuttaropo, Papatik Dasak. These are all Agam's name. Vipak Sutra, okay, Niryavalika, Antarkat Dasar Sutra, or Hemchandracharya's Three Sisters Salaka Purush, okay, this which is the 12th century. In Digambar side, Padma Puran, Harivans Puran, 360 360 Lakshan, 360 Lakshan, Mahapuran, Adi Puran of Jinsen 8 centuries, and Uttar Puran. So this is the kind of a sample literature which significant number of stories are in that books, and these are all high level books I'm talking here. Okay.